Hi, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Aina. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. On this channel, I share cake tips, cake tutorials, cooking videos, and tips that I have around the kitchen. And if you'd like to learn and watch content related to this, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you will be notified whenever I post a new video. In this video, I'll be showing you how I make this beautiful fondant ruffle cake. Please keep watching. So guys, for this technique, we're going to need the following tools and ingredients. Here I have my cornstarch, I have my cake smoother, I have my pliable fondant, I have my paintbrush with edible glue, which I have diluted with some water to make it a little bit light in consistency. Yes, so I have my big rolling pin along with the small one. Then I have my craft knife. It has to be sharp and flat. I have my stainless steel ruler. I have some toothpicks. And finally, I have my cake. Okay, you can use a dummy if that's what you prefer. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is to flatten out your fondant, making sure that you flour your surface with some cornstarch. The first thing I'm going to do is try to fold this fondant or to mold it into a log. Okay, the reason I'm molding it in a log before I start rolling out is because I want it longer across the length and then shorter across the width. Okay, so once you start out with this shape, it's easier to progress and get the required shape or the desired shape. So at this point, my fondant looks flat, although not nearly flat enough. But this is definitely a good start. You want to make sure that your fondant is about 2.5 to 3 mm in thickness. It's important to achieve this flatness because that's when you can get pretty ruffles from your design. Okay, now if you do not achieve that level of flatness at this stage, it's okay because there's still going to be a number of stages where you get to reflatten your fondant. Now, as you can see, I'm flattening out with a fondant smoother to get rid of the creases, and that stage is very important. Just make sure you sprinkle with cornstarch. As you can see, my fondant is pretty flat. Of course, still not flat enough, but we'll get right to it in course of this video. So now I'm just going to trim off the edges of my fondant to give me a clean base. Okay, I want it to look rectangular, I beg your pardon. And so I'm just going to trim off those curved edges until I'm able to get something close enough to a rectangle shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? You just want a base good enough to start with. So now I'm going to use my metal ruler to cut out strips. These strips would be the width of the ruler, right? I'm going to use the width of the ruler as a guide to cut every single strip. But as for the length of the strip, I was able to achieve about 18 inches. Yes, about 18 inches in length for this strip. So just basically you want to cut even strips, even similar strips, as many as you can. I like to make sure I pre-cut most of my strips down before I even get started so that I don't have to stop midway to start to cut strips all over again. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're able to cut as many as you can. In total, I can say I used about 72 strips for the entire cake. This cake here I used was about 10 inches in diameter and about 14 inches in height. Okay, so if you're going to be doing a cake of this size, just bear in mind that you would need about 72 strips. So if you can cut, let's say 60 or 55 to 60, it's a good start. Then when you're done with that, you can come and cut more strips. Just make sure you line them in a tray like you can see me do after cutting and cover them with a cling film. This stage is very important because if you cut your strips and leave them exposed to air, especially if you are in a cold room, maybe working in an air-conditioned room or in a cold region, your fondant is going to dry out and it's going to be pointless because you're going to have to recut. You cannot work with cracked or stiff fondant, okay? So once you have placed them in your tray, as you can see me do here, you want to use a cling film to cover them properly. If you have a longer tray that doesn't let your strips bend like mine was, that's much better, okay? So you want to cover it with a cling film because you're going to be working for a long time. Okay, this process, guys, took me about 6 hours for just the decoration, okay, just for the outer covering. That is excluding the time it took me to bake the cake, make the ganache, layer, trim, crumb coats, and all of that. So it takes it a while. So guys, I have set aside the bulk of my strip. So now I've taken one strip and I have flattened it out even further. Okay, I flattened it out even further to give me this 2.5 to 3 mm thickness. You want it to be this flat. Very important, okay? So guys, for this particular cake, we're going to be making sets of rosettes around the sides of the cake and on top. For the sides, we're going to have 4 sets of rosettes. One in front, one behind, one on the left and one on the right, and then one on top, okay? But to start, we need to make a very small round closed rosette that would be in the middle. Then we build the ruffles along the sides of that rosette, okay? Now, in order to achieve the beautiful ruffle effect, we want to thin out the edges of the strip of fondant, as you can see me do in this video. What I'm doing basically is I took my small fondant cake rolling pin and then I pushed away from the fondant just along the tip of the fondant. That's the edge. You do not want to press the middle, okay? You need the middle to be thick, but you need the edge to be thin. So we're going to push on both sides and away from the fondant. We pull, I beg your pardon, we press and push, okay? You press down and then you push away from the fondant for the top and for the bottom side of this strip of fondant. After doing this, you notice there are some strays. You just want to take your craft knife and trim it off a little. Do not over trim. If you end up trimming off the thin part that you just created, then you will have to thin it out again. So in order not to have to go through the process twice, you want to only trim out the little excesses that have come off from the fondant while you were trying to thin out the edge. Now the next thing you want to do is to fold this fondant in two across the length, okay? Fold it in two across the length. Make sure it is equal. Make sure you fold it equally. Both sides need to be the same, okay? And then you go ahead to press it down a little bit. While you press, you want to avoid the edge of the fondant that you thinned out. If you touch the edge, you're going to end up causing dents and you will ruin the beautiful ruffle effect you have created. So make sure you only fold the edge. Now we're going to roll this fondant on top of itself, like you can see me do right now. Guys, it is important to make sure that it laps on each other. As you roll, make sure that you're lapping it equally on each other. If you notice at the end of what I just did, it was kind of protruding in front. That was wrong. It wasn't meant to protrude in front. If you do it properly, it's meant to be flat in front. So just bear in mind that you have to make sure it's flat in front, okay? So now we are going to try to identify the middle part of this cake. That is the middle of this front part. Now using the width of the cake board, we're going to try to locate the center. That is across the width. Then across the length, we'll also try to locate the center. And then the meeting point would be our middle. Okay, the meeting point of the center that's halfway through towards the length and halfway through towards the width would be our middle. So next we're going to grab our edible liquid glue and we're going to smear it all around the sides of this toothpick. Guys, make sure you use only very little quantity. You want it to be tacky. You don't want to have your glue dripping around the cake. You want it to be tacky. Okay, this makes it stick faster. So just take off the excess from your brush and then use it to smear around the toothpick. So now we're going to place this little rosette in the middle, making sure the end of the rosette faces down. That is the area where the strip ends. You want it to be like facing down. And then you want to use your hand to press against the rosette to make it secure. You want it to stick to the cake. Of course, the toothpick there is for security so that it doesn't fall off. And then we're going to repeat this process for the other 3 sides of this cake. Okay, we want this to dry before we go on to the next stage of ruffles. So guys, for the next layer of ruffles, you want to space it out just a little bit. Okay, and while you go around, you want to use your hand to secure these ruffles to the body of the cake by pressing the bottom against the cake until it sticks. This is very important, okay? And while you go around, you want to make sure that you're trying your best to create a rounded shape. As you go around to fix the ruffles, make sure that you are creating circles, okay? Nearly perfect circles. So you don't end up with some very weird shapeless pattern. You want it to look round. That's the whole idea of the creation of the rosette. Okay, so make sure it's round as much as you can. So once you begin working on the third layer of rosette, you want to grab this little fondant tool to help you secure the fondant on the cake. Okay, it helps you secure the fondant ruffle on the cake. So you want to just place it in the middle of the strip. You know, we folded the strip in two. So you put it through the center and go round it. Okay, this also helps create the ruffle, beautify the waves around the ruffle, and it also helps to secure the bottom of the fondant to the base of the cake so it doesn't fall off very easily. You can use toothpicks to hold up some of the ruffles so they don't close up on each other. Okay, we're trying to create an open rosette effect. So when you notice that the top of the ruffles are tilting down, which is most likely going to happen, you want to use toothpicks to hold it up. Make sure you put these toothpicks in between the strips, please, not inside each strip. Okay, you want to place the toothpicks in between the spaces that separates each strip, not inside the strip. And you're going to leave this in there until it dries completely, and then you can take it off. As you progress, you want to start to increase the spaces between each strip. I like to use my finger as a guide. So I just basically arrange it, making sure that my thumb, if you notice, my thumb is slightly between each strip. So I use my thumb as a gauge, to define the space I want to create between each strip as I go. For the first 2 to 3 strips, you want to make sure it's closed. But as you start to put up the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh strip, you want to create just a thumb wide space between them. This gives that beautiful opening effect of the rosette. guys, we have now come to the end of this tutorial. I'm just using a steamer to get off the cornstarch from my cake and give it a shine. Okay, so this step is very important to make sure that your cake is clean and beautiful. Thank you for watching till this point. I do appreciate. I hope this video was helpful. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section and I would respond to them as soon as I can. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video and share this video with anybody you know would find this tutorial very helpful. I post a video every single week. So see you guys in my next video. Bye.